All right, this is the end of learning target 7. So yesterday, if I give you a equation in standard form for an ellipse, you should be able to find the center, you should be able to figure out if it's horizontal or vertical. Once you do that, you should be able to figure out what the vertices are, you should be able to figure out the foci, you should be able to graph it, all those things. Same thing today, but you have an equation in general form. All right? So since it's in general form, I need to rewrite it in standard form, just like we did with circles, so I can find the center, figure out what's horizontal and vertical, etc., etc. Okay? So it's very similar to what we did with circles. We're going to be completing the square. There's just a few extra little details because of how an ellipse is set up. So if you look at this first equation, if you remember, completing the square only works if you have 1x squared and 1y squared. In this case, I have 25x squared, 9y squared. With circles, everything was equal, right? The radius is the same all the way around. So generally, you could divide out that term all the way through, and then you don't have to worry about it, right? You could divide by 3 and it would be fine, or divide by 4 and everything would be fine. In this case, I can't divide by 25, right? I can't divide by 9. It's not going to go evenly into anything. So what you need to do is you need to start off in the same thing we did before, organize, so rewrite, get the x's together, get the y's together. And then we're going to factor out just for the x's and factor out just for the y's. All right, so you're going to do them individually. So I've got 25x squared plus 100x. And then I've got 9y squared minus 18y equals 116. I'm going to factor individually. So if you look at the x's, well, 25 and 100, they have a common factor, so that's okay. I can factor 25 out of both of those. You don't need to factor an x out of both of those because we want to be able to complete the square. So we still want to have an x squared and an x. So we're just factoring a 25 out of that. So I've got 25 x squared, and 25 goes into 100 4 times. So we've got 4x. Does that make sense? I'm doing the same thing for the y's then. 9 and 18 have a common factor. So I can factor out a 9, and I have minus 2y left over. Everyone good so far? All right, from here, we complete the square inside the parentheses, just like we do with circles. So if I'm looking at x squared plus 4x, I take b, divide by 2, and square it. So 4 divided by 2 is 2, and 2 squared is 4. With circles, we would then add that to their side, right? We are going to do that, but
the TV station show now has beginning if you want to listen to that.
the factor has a 25 in the front. So I have to do 25 times 4 before I add it to their side. So I have to add 100, not 4. So then when I complete the square for y squared minus 2y, b divided by 2 squared. So negative 2 divided by 2 is negative 1. Negative 1 squared is 1. So I add 1 here in the parentheses, but I'm not adding 1 to the other side. I'm adding 9. Because 9 times 1 is 9. Does that make sense? All right, so now I need to rewrite, I need a factor. So I've got 25 still, hasn't gone anywhere. And I have x plus 2 squared. I have 9, and I have y minus 1 squared. And then 116 plus 100 plus 9 is 225. Almost done. There's one more step. Yesterday, if you remember the equations for an ellipse, every single equation for an ellipse has to equal 1. So it can't equal 225. So if I want this equation to equal 1, what should I do? Divide by 225. 225 divided by 225 is 1. But since it's an equation, you have to divide everything by 225. When you do that, you'll need to reduce the fractions, right? So that's what's going to end up getting you standard form. So we are going to end up with x plus 2 squared. 25 over 225 reduces down to 1 over 9. So that's over 9. Of y minus 1 squared. 9 over 225 factors down to 1/25. So it's 1 over 25. And then you have equals 1. They will not always be the number switched. Just letting you know that. Don't always assume that. Make sure you actually look at it. Once I have the standard form of the equation, I can do everything that I asked you to do yesterday. So I'll ask you some simple questions. What's the center of this ellipse? -2, 1. Is this ellipse horizontal or vertical? Vertical, because the larger denominator is under the y. So then what is A and what is B? $25 is A squared, and so 5 is A, and then 9 is B squared, so B is 3, right? So then I could use all those equations. I could find the major vertices, I could find the minor vertices, I could find the foci, right? I had the center, I could graph it if I needed to. At this point, we are pretty much at the starting point we were yesterday at the beginning of Learning Target 7 when I asked you to find all that stuff. Now I'm at the same spot. I just find all the stuff. Does that make sense? How I got to there, though. All right, you're going to do the second one for practice. Rewrite it, and I'll put the answer up here in a second. Once you get your answer, make sure you check it. So what's the center of this ellipse? 1, -2. Is it horizontal or vertical? Vertical. And so what is A and what is B? A is 3, B is 2. Questions about that? And A always has to be bigger than B, right? All right, then I'm going to pass out, Learning Target 7 has a worksheet that goes with it. So if you look at your note sheet, like your plan sheet, it says page whatever, and then it says and Learning Target 7 worksheet. So you have the rest of class work on Learning Target 6 and 7. Both are due on Monday. 6 is a shorter assignment than 7. It's just looking at a graph and writing an equation.